It's interesting. When Tesla first came out with the Model S 10 years ago, believe it or not, it's been over 10 years ago now, it was so far ahead of everybody else that you couldn't catch up to Tesla. There was no possible way to catch up to Tesla. Frankly, I think that the legacy brands are trying to figure out EV at a pace that they have never tried before. And I think that you will see those as the big Tesla competitors. And so I worry a little bit that the competitive advantage that Tesla had over the last 10 years has eroded fairly considerably.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's not a deep fake. He did just say that. And now I'm going to say some things about the things that he just said. Can you see how excited I am? And now to something I'm actually excited about. Stay tuned. I'll be dropping an exclusive Q&A on Patreon very shortly. You guys and girls are definitely going to want to check that one out. If you remember, you'll know where to find it. And if not, you can join Patreon with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment.
I was thinking back, I don't know, it was maybe a month or two ago, you broke down why prices for Teslas in the used car market are coming under pressure. What are you seeing now there? And what's next for that brand? We're coming off an investor day for Tesla. They didn't come out with a new model. They cut prices today. What's your outlook for a brand like that?
It's interesting. When Tesla first came out with the Model S 10 years ago, believe it or not, it's been over 10 years ago now, it was so far ahead of everybody else that you couldn't catch up to Tesla. There was no possible way to catch up to Tesla.
Well, credit to Doug here. So far, so good. This is an accurate statement. I'm looking forward to what comes next.
And in the ensuing 10 years, people have caught up to Tesla.
Now, I'm sure Doug's a very intelligent guy. Actually, that's not honest. I'm not sure whether or not Doug's an intelligent guy. I don't really pay attention. I haven't really seen any of his content except for this. But that's not true. Now, in Doug's defense, maybe he's coming from the perspective of consumer. I'd expect this. He's a car guy after all. He's not thinking about the business implications, the financial implications, the profitability, the technology, the manufacturing techniques, the software capabilities. Maybe he's just looking at, now there's some vehicles that have a similar range to the very old Model S. Therefore, they must have caught up, ignoring the fact that these companies are losing catastrophic amounts of money on these vehicles, or they can't ramp production of these vehicles, or they're recalling these vehicles. No one's close to Tesla on software. No one's close to Tesla on efficiency. Not in the same price bracket. Sure. If you give somebody a budget 3 times that of a Model X, they can probably use some materials that are lighter and get a little bit more range and appear to be further ahead technologically. But when you control for cost, no one's close. This is an absurd thing for Doug to say. Please let me know in the comments below. Who has caught up to Tesla? Let me know. What product? Name the specs. Name the purchase price. Name the gross automotive margin. Now, in fairness, I know nothing about cars, and I think Doug knows nothing about electric vehicles. But this is absolutely fucking absurd. On what planet is Doug? What is he smoking? And please, can I have some? Honest legacy automotive CEOs and ex-legacy automotive CEOs are openly saying they're very far behind Tesla. They're trying to catch up. Their goal is to replicate, copy, and eventually, hopefully, catch up to Tesla. When other automotive companies are admitting out loud they have not caught up to Tesla, but they're trying to, and it's going to be difficult. It doesn't matter how many videos about cars you've made on YouTube. You can't say things that don't make sense, and this doesn't make sense. This would be about as reasonable as your girlfriend FaceTiming you while playing somebody else's skin flute and in a muffled voice telling you that she would never even consider cheating on you. She's never done it, she never would. It just doesn't make sense. Question: what are the 2 largest automotive manufacturers by unit volume sold in a single year on Earth right now? Spoiler alert, Volkswagen and Toyota. What had Volkswagen recently said about Tesla until they shit-canned Herbert Diess? Let's see here. We're learning from Elon. Tesla's making vehicles in 1/3 the time we are. We're trying to catch up to them. It's going to be difficult, blah, fucking blah, blah, blah. VW, world's largest automotive manufacturer, or number 2, depending on the year, admitting out loud they're trying to catch up to Tesla. They're very far behind Tesla, and aspirationally, they would like to eventually catch up to them. Toyota, the world's largest automotive manufacturer, recently tore down a Model Y, were blown away and called it a literal work of art. Ford, Jim Farley's CEO, admitting out loud they're learning from Tesla. They're inspired. They're trying to replicate what they're doing. You just can't say dumb shit like this and get away with it. Like I said, I'm sure Doug knows a lot about cars, but he is so far out of his depth here when he's describing Tesla and claiming that other companies have caught up to where Bro, stay in your fucking lane, or at least go, look, I don't actually know anything that I'm talking about, but here's my uninformed opinion. Maybe it was a slip of the tongue. Maybe Doug will correct himself. I haven't watched the rest of this video, so I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little bit unreasonable. Let's give him a chance to explain what he just said.
And like you said, they haven't come out with a lot of new, exciting models recently. Tesla hasn't really shown us anything like they used to, where they could just drop something and wow everybody and stay years ahead.
Good point. Tesla should definitely have hired Trevor Milton to have more shiny objects so people like Doug could be excited and see that Tesla was still exciting, interesting. Now, I have more thoughts, but I'm recalling some advice my mother gave me many years ago. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So, Mum, I'm taking your advice on this one.
And it's just not quite like that as much anymore. And so I worry a little bit that the competitive advantage that Tesla had over the last 10 years has eroded fairly considerably.
So it's becoming quite clear that Doug is looking at this exclusively from the consumer's point of view. E.g., can I buy a vehicle similar to a Tesla in price that has similar features and functions to a Tesla? And in Doug's world, that just means range, probably, maybe acceleration, and that's about it. Doesn't account for software, none of that stuff. All surface level. And I understand that. From Doug's perspective, in Doug's world, a car guy doesn't give a shit about the business. And maybe he does, maybe I'm wrong. The iceberg analogy is quite applicable here. The stuff you see above the surface, the purchase price and the range of the vehicle, which is, I'm guessing, exactly what Doug's talking about here, those are not competitive advantages. Let me explain why. Any company on earth, aside from maybe Nikola, could put together an electric vehicle that has more range than any other electric vehicle on earth today. Anyone could do that today with an unlimited budget, no problems. You can make a vehicle with more range, faster acceleration. You can do whatever you want as long as the budget's unlimited. And from a consumer's point of view, I mean, you could sell that vehicle to them for $1. You'd sustain catastrophic multi-million-dollar losses on the vehicle, but who cares? Because from the consumer's point of view, Doug's right. No competitive advantage. But if we actually look beneath the surface, the rest of the iceberg, Tesla has unbelievable competitive advantages everywhere you look. They've got more scale. They've got the best vehicles, the safest vehicles, the best battery thermal management, the best batteries, the most efficient vehicles. Everywhere you look underneath the surface, Tesla has insane competitive advantages. Everything from the data on autonomy, the manufacturing systems, their scale, their engineering talent, their 15 years of expertise in thermally managing batteries. Like, I could go on all day. But again, to be fair to Doug, if you're a consumer and you don't care about things like the software, for example, if you're somebody who would still be happy to carry around a cell phone that can only text and call people, can't browse the internet, doesn't have any software, doesn't do anything, doesn't have any apps, just phone and messages, then Doug's right. Tesla has no competitive advantage. An analogy might help. What Doug is essentially saying right now is that Apple, an iPhone, versus a Nokia 69420 from 30 years ago, they're the same thing now. The iPhone doesn't have any competitive advantages because the Nokia 69420 can also call and text people. Therefore, iPhone has no competitive advantages. I mean, let's ignore the app's price and the range, aka can call and text exactly the same, therefore no competitive advantage.
They no longer have the only electric cars with long range. They no longer have the only driver assist tech that can really do a great job of driving for you in a lot of situations. The Cybertruck, which has been touted and vaunted for years, is late. I mean, ultimately, Rivian is already out with a pickup.
So, confirmed, Doug was really focused on range. It's certainly not nothing, but it's not the full picture. Oh, speaking of Rivian, pickup trucks, yes, the Cybertruck is a little bit late, and Rivian does have a pickup truck that consumers can buy now, and consumers are really enjoying their Rivian R1T pickup trucks until they brick, which seems to be happening with great frequency. Again, going back to the point, Tesla does have enormous competitive advantages, including being able to make vehicles that don't fucking brick all the time. Now, in Rivian's defense, they're trying, but I'm just calling a spade a spade. This is anecdotal, but I've seen so many videos and pictures of people with Rivian trucks that have bricked in the last couple of weeks. It happened to Now You Know on YouTube. It's happening to a ton of people. Now, call me crazy. I probably am. Let's just be honest here. If Tesla is making electric vehicles profitably at scale that consumers are willing to wait months to take delivery of, with fat profit margins, that upon taking delivery of actually work, and Rivian is making their first fully electric vehicle, and many consumers after taking delivery discover that they can't even get into their vehicle because it is completely bricked, and then Rivian's attempting to charge them thousands of dollars to get it towed, I would suggest that Tesla may in fact have a competitive advantage known as being able to make software that fucking works. And again, Rivian may get there, but they're not there yet, and this is the point. It's absolutely absurd to say that Tesla's lost a competitive advantage because now there are other products available that consumers can buy. That doesn't matter. The question is, can those products satisfy consumers in the same way that Tesla can? And unless you have a bricking fetish, I'm not sure Rivian's quite up to scratch yet. Maybe they'll get there, but they're not there yet. And again, from the consumer's point of view, I do want to be fair to Doug, right? From a consumer's point of view, if you ignore the bricking Rivian, well, yeah, look, Rivian's got a pickup truck and Tesla doesn't. Therefore, Rivian beat Tesla to pickup trucks. Therefore, Tesla has no competitive advantage. And we heard Doug mentioning the driver assist systems. Again, from the consumer's point of view, depending on how much attention you need to be paying to this driver assist system, sure, maybe they might seem comparable. But again, go back to the iceberg analogy, bro. Tesla's one of the world's leading real-world AI companies. They have developed incredible neural networks. They've almost solved vision, perception, planning, and action. It's incredible. And then you've got many other folks releasing their so-called driver assist that are glorified party tricks at best. Again, from the consumer's point of view, you might not notice much of a difference. But you know what a competitive advantage means, right? Let's find out. Competitive advantage, a condition or circumstance that puts a company in a favorable or superior business position. So, dear viewer, let me ask a question or two. Which of these positions do you think would be more favorable and advantageous from a business point of view? Being able to deliver a profitable, compelling electric vehicle to a consumer that actually works, or being able to deliver a semi-compelling, decent electric vehicle that doesn't work? Let me ask another question. Which of these is more of a competitive advantage? Having quasi-infinite demand and already producing 2+ million vehicles per year at an annualized rate? Highly profitable, super compelling, amazing electric vehicles, or struggling to produce 20,000 electric vehicles per year and losing money on every single one of them? Which of these sounds more like a competitive advantage, given the definition we just read? I don't know the answer either, so I'm sure Doug can help me figure that one out.
General Motors is out with a pickup. Ford has the Lightning. And so Tesla, it certainly doesn't have the same level of first mover advantage, I think, that it once did. But it's obviously still a very strong brand, and there's still an enormous amount of interest in it.
Who do you think Tesla's biggest competitor is, Doug? We're always comparing Tesla to Lucid, but Lucid's not really making any cars. Polestar is making cars, but they don't seem to compare with Tesla. Is it a GM? Is it a Ford that Tesla should be worried about?
That's a great question. I think it depends on the segment that you're in, and also I think it's just sort of some brands come out. I mean, Rivian will be a good competitor in the truck space, but they have nothing to compete with the Model 3. Yes, Polestar is competitive with the Model 3, but they have nothing to compete with, SUVs. Frankly, I think that the legacy brands are trying to figure out EV at a pace that they have never tried before, and I think that you will see those as the big Tesla competitors.
Oh my God, where do we even begin? Okay, so a couple of things. One, traditional car guy thinks traditional automotive manufacturers are going to be Tesla's biggest competitors. But hang on a minute. Didn't we hear that Tesla's lost its competitive advantage? But isn't now Doug suggesting that in the future, not now, but in the future, legacy automotive manufacturers who are trying, and remember, do or do not, there is no try, legacy automotive manufacturers who are trying to catch up to Tesla in the future will be competing with Tesla? Well, they'll be Tesla's biggest competition. But I thought we heard that Tesla doesn't have a competitive advantage now. If that was true, then wouldn't these companies already be competitive with Tesla? Doesn't add up here. I'm not trying to be a dick here. I'm really not. I'm just trying to pick apart the so-called logic or lack thereof in Doug's comments. He suggested at the beginning of this clip that 10 years ago, the Model S had no competition. League of their own. There was nothing available that could touch it. But now, Tesla has lost their competitive advantage because everyone's caught up. But moments later, Doug's explaining how legacy automotive manufacturers are trying to catch up to Tesla. And in the future, not now, but in the future, they will be Tesla's biggest competitors. Not adding up here, Doug. Can't have your cake and eat it too. Am I missing something?
I don't view Lucid as that big of a competitor. Like you said, they're not making or selling that many cars. But when you look at the Ford Mustang Mach-E, to me, that is a very competitive car with the Model Y.
So there's a couple of things here. First of all, the Mustang Mach-E is decent and it does exist. Sort of comparable range and performance to a Model Y. I mean, it's not perfect, but hey, ain't bad. If you guys and girls have seen Sandy Munro open one of those things up and nearly die at the absolute abomination, the bowl of spaghetti that was the thermal management system. Remember Munro dumping you remember that? Versus the Tesla octavalve heat pump? From an engineering point of view, Mach-E, nowhere close to Tesla. Oh, and then there's the whole making them profitably, which Ford is not actually currently doing. Maybe they'll get there, but they're losing money on them at this point in time. And again, I really do want to be fair on Doug. He's looking at this all from a consumer's point of view. How much do I pay and what do I get? But this, of course, ignores some of the less tangible things that you can't put in a number. You can't put how good is the software, how intuitive is the software, how seamless is the experience, how many over-the-air updates do we get, how much does this thing improve after I buy it, can I turn on rear heated seats over the air after the fact. None of this stuff is a number, and therefore, in Doug's world, I don't think it exists, but it actually matters a lot. And again, one other data point we might look at is, sales. After all, you would assume that if there isn't a competitive advantage, then products would be selling comparable numbers to each other, right? Would that be fair to say? Or at the very least, if a new product had entered the market and was still ramping up production, it would have an insane number of reservations, indicating there's a truly absurd amount of demand waiting for this thing. So how well is the Mustang Mach-E selling? In 2022, for the full year, the Mustang Mach-E sold a little under 40,000 units. Not bad. How many did the Model Y sell? Over 750,000 units. Of course, this isn't a complete apples-to-apples comparison after all. The Mustang Mach-E came out after the Model Y, didn't it? How much after? Tesla's Model Y went on sale in March 2020. Ford's Mustang Mach-E went on sale in December 2020. Tesla's Model Y had a 9-month head start. 9 months. So Tesla's Model Y in 2022 sold almost 20 times as many units as the Mustang Mach-E. Not 20%, 20 times. Is this relevant? Could it indicate that Maybe Tesla possibly has some competitive advantages, which is why they're making and selling significantly more Model Ys than Ford is the Mustang Mach-E. Nah, it's probably nothing.
And I think that General Motors and Ford are very committed to an electric vehicle strategy that is going to make them continually kind of banging at Tesla's door over the next few years.
Banging at Tesla's door over the next couple of years. Now, I'm no expert on the English language. I'm just some idiot on the internet, doesn't know anything about anything, especially not what words mean. But my understanding of this expression in the context in which it is used is suggestive that Tesla is in a dominant leadership position. They are the big player. They are the company with all the competitive advantages. And it is Ford and other companies who'll be banging on Tesla's door, getting their attention eventually when they actually start making compelling electric vehicles that are on par with Tesla vehicles, which seems to suggest that they're not already doing that, which seems to suggest that Tesla still has a competitive advantage. But hang on a minute. Wasn't it earlier in this clip that Doug said this?
In the ensuing 10 years, people have caught up to Tesla.
I'm trying to understand here. So why would legacy automotive manufacturers in the coming years be banging on Tesla's door if they've already caught up to Tesla? If I didn't know any better, I kind of get the impression that Doug wants it to be true that Tesla no longer has a competitive advantage and that their competition has actually caught up. But deep down, he knows this isn't true. It's just wishful thinking. Can I have a hit of that hopium?
Hey, Doug, so maybe we'll see some EVs kind of come down the pipeline on the enthusiast modern classic kind of range there. But, I wanted to ask you, I know you from time to time you do sort of your picks on what kind of cars might actually, be a good investment down the line. I'm looking at some of my Tonsazi, I'm looking at a nice C6 Corvette, but, I think I might have missed the market on that. What are some of the things you're looking at in terms of cars that might be under the radar, that might be decent investments down the line?
That's an interesting question. A lot of people ask me that, and it's difficult over the last year to really say anything because so many cars shot up so fast in 2021 that it's like hard to believe that anything is going to continue to grow. But I will say one segment that I will remain bullish on until probably years to come, analog cars that aren't, as the world moves to electric vehicles, which I think are great for most people for daily transportation, I do think there's going to be a huge segment of the enthusiast world that's going to wish to have cars with manual transmissions, cars that have a big engine sound, cars that still feel like kind of the old days. And I think analog cars that have those qualities are still going to continue to be desirable. A lot of those cars have shot up in value over the last 5-10 years, but I think they're going to continue to do so as more and more electric vehicles start to erode, any sort of engine sound and driving feel that we have in our daily drivers. Enthusiasts are going to seek those types of cars more for fun backroads driving.
On this, I am happy to admit I'm way out of my depth. Now, my hunch is Doug's probably right. I don't think 2002, 2012 versions of ICE vehicles are going to retain much value, but some of the classics, vintage cars, he's probably onto something. But what would I know? I'm not a car guy. So let's recap what we heard from Doug here. An expert. Now, expert in and of itself isn't a derogatory term, but more often than not, it turns out it is. Doug says that he was worried, concerned, I believe, that Tesla's competitive advantage has eroded away over the years. I, on the other hand, am a little bit more concerned that Doug's ability to perceive reality has eroded over the years. Not trying to be a dick, just calling a spade, say stupid things, win stupid prizes. I personally find it absurd that companies like GM, legacy automotive companies, will be Tesla's biggest competitors in the future. Most of these companies will be going bankrupt. I also find it utterly ridiculous to suggest that Tesla now has credible competition. I mean, the numbers don't lie. Pick your number. Profitability, scale, what do we want to look at? Sales, the number of vehicles you deliver to customers that don't brick. It's hard to find a single metric on which any of Tesla's so-called competition is actually competitive. And while we're on the subject of competitive advantages, I'm giving away all my best stuff today, guys. Athletic Greens AG1 is far and away the biggest hack in my health toolkit. I've been taking this stuff now daily for almost 2 years. My energy has massively increased. I feel better. I'm performing better. I've got more work capacity, more exercise capacity, better ability to recover. And my streak of daily uploads continues to extend. I don't know where we're at now, probably close to 1,000, give or take. And I ain't stopping anytime soon. Athletic Greens AG1 really will give you a competitive advantage by having you feeling and performing your best. After all, if you're brimming with energy, you feel great, you're well rested, you're well recovered, you'll have the energy to get out there and crush it. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps, which we all have, despite some of the Poindexters who seem to be under the erroneous impression that if you just eat the right foods, you'll get everything you need for optimal performance. You won't. You'll get enough to survive, but if you want to thrive and optimize, have a competitive advantage over your peers, you've got to be supplementing. And Athletic Greens AG1 is packed full of 75 high-quality vitamins and minerals and whole food source nutrients. It has prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes. Promotes gut health, boosts immunity, boosts energy. So if you want to outcompete the so-called competition, have an unassailable lead, a true advantage, Athletic Greens AG1 is an absolute no-brainer. If you head to athleticgreens.com/SMR or use the link in the pinned comment, you get a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2, and you can start your daily health habit and gain a massive competitive advantage now. Don't take my word for it. Here's what a competitive advantage, or 12, looks like, according to you guys. Regarding Athletic Greens, I've now been taking it for around 3 weeks. I decided to try it after hearing you mention tiredness in the afternoons, which is something that's been plaguing me since late summer 2022. In the second week of taking AG1, I suddenly realized that the tiredness in the afternoons had gone. I'm also finding myself to be much more alert and active. These past few weeks, I've noticed how much more I love working all day, every day since the first couple of days of trying it. It ain't no placebo effect. Also, a positive mood toward myself and others. Now, do these sound like competitive advantages? Love working all day, every day, having the energy to do it, positive mood toward oneself and others, more energy, and another. AG1 is actually helping me stay awake at work. I've been going back to the office, and before I used to fight not falling asleep in long, boring meetings, but now I'm able to sit there and be mentally capable to be there. Again, seems like a competitive advantage to me. Who do you think is going to get paid more and promoted faster? The old guy who wasn't taking AG1, who was struggling to stay awake in meetings? Or the new guy who's no longer tired, not struggling to stay awake, is alert and attentive? Another 3 weeks into AG1, will not go back, sleep and feel better. Again, I ask the question, if you're sleeping better, if you're feeling better, would that be a competitive advantage? I think so. Or how about this? I got AG1 like 2 weeks ago, and it is serious. Almost instantly, got way more energy, better mood, and workouts seem to be doing more, and they're easier. I feel great. Hopefully it continues. Seems almost too good to be true. I think that's the biggest problem with Athletic Greens AG1. So many skeptics, there's no way it's that good, bro. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, much like Tesla's lead truly is unassailable and they have no competition, Athletic Greens AG1 is the literal shit. And finally, I can attest that AG1 is really what he's saying it is. Just means your daily life is better. So what are you waiting for? Give yourself a competitive advantage, run circles around and embarrass the so-called competition. Head to athleticgreens.com/SMR or use the link in the pinned comment. Start your daily health habit now, and if for some strange reason you don't get similar benefits, there's a 90-day money-back guarantee. You can't lose. Actually, you can. I think the only way you could possibly lose in this situation is if you do absolutely nothing, which guarantees you'll get more of what you've been getting and be doing more of what you've been doing. And if that's enough, then so be it. But if you want to give yourself a competitive, dare I say, unfair advantage, you got to give Athletic Greens AG1 a try. And don't forget, new exclusive Q&A will be dropping on Patreon very shortly, so stay tuned for that. If you're not a member of Patreon, you can join with the card in the corner or the link at the pinned comment, and I'll see you over there. Love ya.